So today I'm going to look at the 10 players to watch out for in the MLSisback tournament. Now, this is a bit of a tricky video to make because for the past couple of days we have seen players that have reported to opt out for this MLSisback tournament. In fact, most notably this morning, Icopara actually tweeted out that he's not going to be participating in this tournament because he's worried that he is going to be contracting this virus during the tournament. And I don't blame him, and I definitely don't blame any of these players that decided to opt out for this tournament because there's a lot of risks that these players are taking in terms of playing in this tournament, and especially what has happened in the last couple of days of just record amount of cases that is reported in Florida, and that it seemed like Florida has become the new epicenter of this pandemic. And not to mention, there's already a couple of players that have tested positive for this virus for the last couple of days. It's no wonder why some of these players are very concerned of actually going into this tournament and that they feel like it's too much risk for them to potentially participate. But the bottom line is, I do respect all the players that decided to opt out of it because they're worried that they might contract the virus or they have some family related issue that is going on. But that being said, it also does make this video a little bit tricky to make because some of the players that I put here on the board, I won't be surprised in the upcoming days they're going to say that they're not going to participate in this tournament, and that the players that I put on the board, yeah, they basically end up not even playing in this tournament after all. But still, I am going to do this video, and as always, in terms of doing these kind of video, let me know in the comments below what do you think of the players that I put on the board, and if you have some players that you think should also be on the board or on the honorable mention, let me know in the comments below. And I also want say the most important thing about this video, as I always said when I do these kind of list video, is that this is not a ranking system, and that just because I put the first player there at number 1 doesn't mean that is the player that I am going to watch out the most during this MLSisback tournament. But with that being said, let us actually get into the first player. And the first player that I am going to watch out for heading into this tournament is Cristian Pavón from the LA Galaxy. And also, just to keep it fair, I am only going to choose one player from each team in terms of the 10 players to watch out for in the MLSisback tournament. So I decided to choose Cristian Pavón from the LA Galaxy, and that there will be no more Galaxy player that I'm going to be choosing on this board. Now, originally I was going to go with Chicharito from the LA Galaxy because, you know, obviously he's really the guy that has a lot of media attention, and knowing the fact that he has been very poor in the first 2 games, the media hasn't really been very positive of how Chicharito has been when he was with the Galaxy. Now, the reason why I didn't put him on there is because there is a rumor that say that he probably will be another most notable player in the league to not participate in this tournament, and if that is the case, that's why I decided to just not put him on the board, because most likely that is just one of those players that I've just mentioned could potentially not participate in this tournament despite the fact that I put him on the board. So I go with the next best option, which is Cristian Pavón. And really, I think Pavón in this tournament, he's really the go-to goal scorer and creative player on this team, because ever since Jonathan Dos Santos, who yesterday unfortunately suffered yesterday he of course undergoes surgery after he suffered a knee injury during this downtime that we are in right now. Basically now it's all up to Pavón in terms of being the creative player, and whether if Chicharito does play or not, he's going to be really the one that is going to create and probably feed the ball to Chicharito, because now without Jonathan Dos Santos, I don't see any other players on that attack that could do the same role that I think Jonathan Dos Santos could do for Chicharito. So, yeah, Pavón, he needs to really step up in this game, and that in some way, if Chicharito does not play in this tournament, he's going to be the guy that has to carry this Galaxy team throughout this tournament. But moving on at number 2, now this guy, I don't think he's going to play a lot of minutes. And in fact, I think out of all the players that I have named here, this is probably the guy that played the least amount of minutes in the 10 players to watch out for. But I'm still putting him on here because, you know, Darren Mattocks, for whatever reason, whenever he comes off a bench in an important game for the Portland Timbers, he always tends to deliver. And I won't be surprised if the Timbers does move on into the knockout stage, that at some points we're going to see Asprilla, and at some points he's going to score a crucial goal for the Timbers, because that's what he has been doing. Like, it's no wonder a couple of Timbers fans have been saying he's like Mr. October or Mr. November, because he always tends to score crucial goal and provide clutch moment for the Timbers when they really need the most. So I won't be surprised if that is going to be the case, and I wonder which moment is going to be that Darren Mattocks is going to get to potentially propel the Timbers either into the next round or maybe even win this tournament by scoring a crucial goal. At number 3 is going to be Franco Jara. Now, FC Dallas, as you guys know, has had 6 players yesterday reported to be tested positive for coronavirus, and they have also now in total have 9 players on their team that have unfortunately tested positive for this virus, and that they haven't released the names of any of these players, and that of course does make it a little bit more tricky to see who exactly actually got this virus, and that I hope Franco Jara is not one of those players, because this is a guy that they literally just got him a couple of weeks ago after they signed him back in the offseason and getting him in July. But if he's not one of those players that got the COVID-19 virus, and that if FC Dallas is just going to continue to play in this tournament, which there is definitely a lot of doubt with the way that there's a lot of players on their team that have got this virus, I think Jara will be a guy to watch out for. I could have also easily gone with Zdeněk Odrancic, and that I actually would have gone with a lot of Dallas players, because this Dallas team, there's a lot of youngsters that I really like, and they also have one of my favorite players in the league in Paxton Pomykal. Could have easily put him on the board, but I just go with Franco Jara because, you know, he's a new signing for Dallas, and he's supposed to be the guy that could make a big impact for this team in terms of the goal scoring department. It'll be interesting to see with him and Zdeněk Odrancic, you know, if both of them are, I'm assuming both of them probably are not going to play on the same pitch, but I'll be interested to see whether or not, if he of course can win that battle with him and the Cobra for that striker position, or he might actually come off the bench and make a big impact, and that is also another reason why I really want to see how he's going to do in this tournament for FC Dallas. Now at number 4 is another striker, and that of course is Luis Amarilla. Now I know most of these players that I put on this list is striker or attacker, because I tend to always love watching attacking players play, but I think on this list there are a couple of defender on this. Well, actually, I'm not sure exactly that, of course, is the case, but Luis Amarilla is one of those players that I have to watch out for, and I could have also gone with a lot of different name on this Minnesota team, but Amarilla, since he is a guy that have said that he's going to score 25 goals this season, and so far he's on track of doing it. Like, he's already scored 2 goals in the first 2 games, on pace to equal Vela's record from last season of scoring 34 goals. You know, if he can continue to do that, then yeah, he's gonna reach that 25 goal mark, and that, you know, he's going to definitely be one of the main goals scored for this Loons team. And really, I think now, knowing the fact that Ike Opara is not going to be in this tournament, this Loons team needs to score a lot of goals, because without Ike Opara, that defense just, you know, with Ike Opara, I definitely have a lot of faith with that defense because of the way that he has really been the X factor in terms of that back line for the Loons. But without Ike Opara, that just made me feel like the same defense that I saw for the Loons for the first 2 seasons, which is not very good at all. So to counter that, I think Minnesota is going to have to score a ton of goals to try and to counterpart that, and Luis Amarilla is going to be one of those guys that I think he could make a big impact and score a bunch of goals for this Loons team. Now at number 5, I am going to go with Gotti Kingdom. And there's definitely also a lot of players from the SKC side that I could also put on the board. Most notably, I was thinking of putting Johnny Russell in there, but then I decided to go with Gotti Kingdom because, as I said back in that video where I talk about the competitors and the teams that that definitely could be the favorites heading in this tournament. And when I mentioned SKC, I mentioned Gotti Kingdom as a guy that can really provide the same spark that Felipe Gutierrez can do with this team. And he's going to have to do this because Gutierrez is not going to be in this tournament. And that so far, he's already done very well with this team, scoring a goal or scoring 2 goals and already getting an assist. And if he can continue that good form that he has and start his and the way that he has started his career with SKC, this is a guy that you should definitely watch out for as a guy that could be the main creative player for this Sporting KC team. At number 6, I'm going to go with another striker. And this time, it's going to be from FC Cincinnati, and it's Jurgen Leucadia. And again, as I previously said, I think Jurgen Leucadia is a guy that, he's already expressed his pleasure of wanting to stay with FC Cincinnati, and as a result, FC Cincinnati decided to award him an extended time of staying with the club. But now he's got to really prove that he want to stay with this team by scoring goals, because it's one thing of you basically saying that you love the city and you love the club that you've been in, but it's another if you actually decide to show up and you actually make an impact with your team, because you can basically say that you love the team so much that you want to stay here, but if you don't make an instant impact and if you don't be like a goal scorer that FC Cincinnati hope he is going to be after all that money that they of course got him from Brighton, that probably is not going to result in a very good thing for him, and that he's not going to really stay with FC Cincinnati for long if he doesn't provide the goals that they of course need. So yeah, I think this tournament could be a good reason to prove that not only he loves the team, but also he can do some good things for the team by scoring the goals that FC Cincinnati desperately need in terms of their striker. At number 7, I am going to go with a Union player, and I'm going to go with probably the most hottest prospect in the U.S. men's national team right now, and that of course is Brenden Aaronson. Last year he should have won the Rookie of the Year, but heading into this season and seeing how he played in the first couple of games, it just seemed like he just got even better, and he's going to continue to get better with the way that he's been playing in the first 2 seasons. And I think if he can play well again in this tournament, boy, there's going to be a couple of European teams that's going to be calling the Union to potentially get him, and that the Union could really sell him for a huge profit that they of course develop through their academy. So yeah, Brenden Aaronson is one of the players to watch out for in this tournament. And at number 8, I'm going to go with an Atlanta United player, and that of course is going to be Ezequiel Barco. And I could have easily gone with Pity Martinez. In fact, I could also say that Pity Martinez is one of those players to watch out for in this tournament, because as I mentioned back in the video where I talk about teams that are favorites in this tournament, Ezequiel Barco and Pity Martinez really need to step up if Atlanta is going to go deep in this tournament. Like, if they can, of course, step up, Atlanta is going to go deep. But if they don't step up and look like what they were in or what Barco has been for the first couple of seasons and how Pity Martinez was last season, Atlanta is not going to go very deep into this tournament. So yeah, I'm expecting them to do some good things with the team, and even though I put Barco on there, I'm going to also just add in Pity Martinez there, because both of these players are really the players that desperately need this tournament to prove that the money that Atlanta bought them from a couple of seasons ago was actually worth the price. Now at number 9, I am going to go with a guy that hasn't played in a very long time, but he's probably going to get his chance to play for this DC United team. And that, of course, is going to be Federico Higuain. As I mentioned, he hasn't played in a very long time. In fact, I think the last time he played for the Columbus Crew was back in 2018, before he was pretty much out for the entire 2019 season because of that torn ACL. But now he's with DC United, and he's actually now a player coach, which this is one of the rare time when we see a player in MLS also become a player's coach. It'll be very interesting to see how he is going to do. Like I don't think he's going to be as good as he was with the Columbus Crew because, knowing the fact that he's coming off of this injury and knowing the fact that he's also in his twilight of his career, most likely he is not going to make a big impact for DC United as he would with Columbus. But still, I'm very intrigued in terms of him being a player coach, mainly because, again, we haven't seen a lot of these situation of players on a team can also be a player coach as we were seeing in this case. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to work out, and it'll also be interesting to see can Higuain, after suffering that long knee injury that he has to come back from, whether or not if he still got almost around the same amount of quality than he is when he was in the latter years of his career with the Columbus Crew. And then at number 10, and finally the last player that is going to be included on my list is going to be Adam Buksa from the New England Revolution. This is a player that the Revs, of course, got him as a DP, and really a guy that they think he could be another goal-scoring threat for New England, and it'd be interesting to see if he can, of course, continue to do that. I'm not quite sure has he actually scored a goal or two during the first two games for the Revs, but he is definitely a guy that I, of course, would watch out for him and see if he's going to be worth the amount that New England, of course, paid him as a DP player during this offseason. Now, in terms of the honorable mention, I'm actually going to just put all of them at once right now. So the first player that I'm going to put is going to be Dom Dwyer as one of the honorable mention. Second player is going to be Robert Beric. Third player is going to be Lucas Zalarian. Let's see. Yep. Zalarian. Third player is going to be Wando. Fourth player is going to, fifth player actually. Fourth player was actually Wando, but the fifth player is going to be Bradley Wright Phillips. Sixth player is going to be Roger Espinoza. Seventh player is going to be Josie Altidore. And then lastly, the last player that I'm going to be mentioning in the honorable mention list is going to be Lucas Cavallini. And you notice most of these players that I put here are usually, once again, striker, but some of them are some of these big money need striker that some of these MLS teams have spent during the offseason. Obviously, Robert Beric is one of them that the Chicago Fire spent. Lucas Cavallini and Lucas Zalarian, even though he isn't really kind of a striker, Columbus really spent a lot of money and banking him to be the main creative player, so it'd be interesting to see if he can, of course, do that. But other than that, Dom Dwyer, I could have easily put him on this board, and I probably could have put him on this board because, he really need to have a big tournament, knowing the fact that, the struggle that he has endured with Orlando City in these past season has really kind of made him a player that is really not even a factor anymore for Orlando City, and that he's been kind of relegated in terms of substitute duty because of it. If he can, of course, get things going and have a good tournament, then he can potentially get his starting spot back for Orlando City. Lucas Zalarian and Robert Beric, I mentioned why I think they should watch out for. Wando, this is, of course the swan song year for Wando, even though I don't know if Wando might think about playing another year, knowing what has gone on this season and how things have kind of definitely not been the way that I expect this swan song season is going to be. But it'd be interesting to see how he's going to play and whether or not he's going to be a player like he has always been for the Quakes, which is carry this team on his back and scoring goals. BWP, obviously now with LAFC, and talk about got a couple of guys that is most notable that is going to potentially miss the tournament. Carlos Vela is going to be one of those guys. And if Carlos Vela is going to miss this tournament, it will be very interesting to see all these other LAFC players that can they of course stepped up and trying to still keep that same competitiveness that they have always been, even though they're not going to have Vela throughout this tournament. And BWP is going to be one of those names. And it's interesting to see whether or not if BWP is going to get minutes. I'm assuming he is going to get minutes for LAFC, but I don't think he's going to be a starter. I still think that in terms of starters in that number 9 position, it's probably going to be either Rossi or Dio in that spot. But he could actually come off the bench and do some good things for LAFC. So, that's one of the reasons why I'm going to look out for him. And it's also going to be very strange when he actually comes off the bench with LAFC and that he's actually wearing a different jersey than a Red Bulls one. Because we are so accustomed that of Bradley Wright Phillips playing with the Red Bulls and wearing that Red Bulls jersey that it's going to be weird seeing him in an LAFC jersey. Roger Espinoza, a guy that I could have also included on this board, as I mentioned with Gotti Kingdom. There was a lot of SKC player I could have put it on the board, but Roger Espinoza is another guy that could be a creative player, and it's kind of unusual. You see kind of a deep line player can have a big impact on the attacking force, but that's what Roger Espinoza has. He not only could be a very good defender and could really help out a struggling back line, but he can also go forward on the attack too and create some amazing play going forward on the attack. Now, the problem is he is starting to get old, and father time is started to catch him up, and he's not as explosive as he has been in the past couple of seasons, but he still is going to be a very important player for SKC, knowing the fact that, again, Felipe Gutierrez, he's not going to participate in this tournament. Some of these guys are going to have to step in and fill his shoes throughout this tournament. Josie Altidore, obviously, knowing the fact that he's probably not going to be playing in this tournament at the very earliest, probably in the latter part of the group stage for TFC. It'll be interesting to see how he could, of course, make some big impact for this team. And Lucas Cavallini, as I mentioned, same with Robert Baric and Lucas Zarayan. He is another player that his respective team has paid big money for and hoping to make some big impact on the attack. And we will see if he, of course, can do that with the Vancouver Whitecaps. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the 10 players to watch out for in the MLSisback tournament and also the honorable mention. And again, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these players that I put on the board, and if there's any other players that you think should belong on the board here, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.